हमारे सभी दर्शकों को माइकल फुलवानी का नमस्कार, आदाब, सत श्री अकाल। आज का ये प्रोग्राम बहुत इम्पॉर्टेंट है क्योंकि आज के इस प्रोग्राम के अंदर हमारे साथ हैं मिस्टर केविन डॉनाह्यू, जो कि CBP ऑफिशियल्स हैं न्यूयॉर्क एयरपोर्ट पे। उनको हमने रिक्वेस्ट किया, वो आज के प्रोग्राम के अंदर वो आपको बताएंगे। जब लोग बाहर ट्रैवल करते हैं, बाहर से आते हैं, सिटीजन्स हैं, ग्रीन कार्ड होल्डर्स हैं, विजिटर्स हैं, L1s हैं, H1, कोई भी टाइप ऑफ वीज़ा के, तो उनकी इंस्पेक्शन क्या होती है। प्राइमरी इंस्पेक्शन जो विंडो पे जब आप पेपर दिखाते हैं वहाँ क्या होता है, और कभी कभी सेकेंडरी इंस्पेक्शन होती है, और कभी कुछ लोगों को वापस कर दिया जाता है, कुछ लोगों को एडमिशन रिफ्यूज़ हो जाती है। ये सब चीज़ें बहुत बहुत इम्पॉर्टेंट है। उसके अलावा वो ग्लोबल एंट्री के अंदर आप जब एनरोल करते हैं, अगर आप सिटीज़न हैं और ग्रीन कार्ड होल्डर हैं, तो आपको लंबी लाइनों में ज़रूरत नहीं है रहने की। जैसे ही आप आते हैं, आप वो उस सेपरेट एक मशीन है, एग्ज़िट है, जिसमें आप अपना पासपोर्ट की कॉपी और ग्रीन कार्ड डाल सकते हैं, सिटीज़न का पेपर डाल सकते हैं, और इमीडिएटली विदाउट मच वेटिंग आप बाहर निकल सकते हैं। तो इस प्रोग्राम के अंदर आज हम इंटरव्यू करते हैं मिस्टर केविन डॉनाह्यू को। माधवी जी हमारे साथ हैं। प्लीज़ वॉच द प्रोग्राम। टुडेज सब्जेक्ट इज़ कस्टम्स and border protection. Let me just go back a little bit, because many of the people know immigration service. The legacy immigration service many years ago was splitted into three parts. The USCIS would give the immigration benefits, and ICE, which is the enforcement when people are deported or arrested, and then we have customs border protection, whose main function is to protect our borders. But let me give you in brief so that you understand. And today's program, we are not talking about USCIS, we are not talking about ICE, it's only CBP, which is the Customs Border Protection. Now, the CBP has a multiple tasks. They primarily are responsible for inspection and admission of passengers coming from abroad, and they also screening cargo, preventing flow of illegal drugs, apprehending terrorists and people that try to enter the US illegally, and many more responsibilities. And as we go along, you will hear a lot about this. Now, most of you, I think, know CBP very well, because even if you don't remember the word CBP, remember when you are coming from India or any country, you land at the port of entry in Newark, for example, or New York, you are going to be seen by a CBP official who is going to look at your documents, maybe talk to you, and make a decision to admit you or not. Of course, most cases they are admitted, but there are situations where they may need some more information or talk to you before making a decision of admission. Now, guess what? We have a very important guest today. Today we have a senior official of CBP, and Mr. Kevin Donahue, and let me introduce him briefly so that you know who he is. Mr. Donahue is a Deputy Chief Officer with the U.S. Customs and Border Protection in the Office of Field Operations. He is currently assigned to Newark Liberty International Airport within the Port of New York and Newark. And Chief Donahue's primary area of responsibility is overseeing the Criminal Enforcement Unit in the Enforcement Branch of the Air Operations Division. His prior assignments have included managing the Advanced Admissibility Secondary Processing Unit. We'll be talking about secondary processing in a little while, as well as the Counter-Terrorism Response Team. Mr. Donahue's supervisory expertise has been cultivated both in the customs and immigration environment of the Customs and Border Protection. Chief Donahue began his federal service career with the former Immigration and Naturalization Service at JFK Airport in 1998 as an immigration inspector. So I believe Mr. Donahue has been in the service for almost 14 years. Mr. Donahue, very welcome to you on this program. We are grateful to you. We are thankful to you for sparing your important time and coming here to provide the latest information about CBP and what you do. And we really thank you for that.
Thank you. It's my pleasure here to represent CBP.
So today, Madhvi ji and me, we are both going to be talking to you, asking some questions, and you can provide that information to our viewers. First of all, tell us a little bit about the functions of CBP officials, what the duties do. I mean, are there, in other words, question is, all the CBP officials perform the same type of service, or certain CBP officials do the inspection admissions and others do some other types of work?
Well, CBP is the branch of Department of Homeland Security that's tasked with protecting our borders while facilitating legal trade and travel. All CBP officers within the Office of Field Operations, which I currently belong to, you will find at your ports of entry. And they are involved in both the admissibility aspects of passengers traveling, as well as cargo processing, as well as agricultural. We have agricultural specialists at your port of entry that are there to determine which products are not permitted to enter into the United States. So we're a well-rounded organization where we perform many diverse tasks.
Thank you.
Okay. The next question is, how does your agency handle multiple functions, customs-related matters which involve preventing flow of illegal drugs and contraband, harmful pests and diseases, theft of intellectual property, collecting import duty and enforcing trade laws, and border protection, apprehending individuals attempting to enter illegally from the border areas and port of entry, screening passengers, preventing terrorists and terrorist weapons to ensure the security of the nation, enforcing regulations pertaining to the admissibility of aliens?
Well, as you just said,
Yes.
that is a very big task
Yes.
within CBP.
Okay.
We have a very big responsibility to enforce all of those aspects. We have what we call a layered enforcement approach.
Okay.
We have many different teams, many different officers. We have, say, animals, canines that help us in that mission to detect narcotics, to detect food products. We have specialty teams, which was mentioned in my introduction, the counterterrorism response teams, where as well as enforcing the generalities of CBP, they specialize in unique tasks, such as counterterrorism response. We also have a team that handles secondary processing. So we're all trained to do all of those missions, but we specialize in unique aspects where it all comes together through this layered enforcement approach to do the job every day.
Okay.
It's a humongous responsibility,
It
really.
is.
And we have to appreciate that. We find that it is done very well. And
you.
our hats off to you.
Well, thank
And
you.
keep up the good job.
Thank you.
Okay, let me go to another question, which is very, very important to our persons, because this is what they encounter as a practical experience to them. With regard to the individual encounter problems, I mean, when person is coming, what does he encounter, the kind of problems in dealing with CBP, comes for inspection, and upon arrival, probably goes to the primary inspection, and you can explain what a primary inspection is. In some cases, he is referred to the secondary inspection, and there must be a reason for that. So could you explain how, in some cases, there's no issue, persons come at the window, primary inspection, boom, boom, and stamp, and out. In some cases say, please wait, sir, and very politely you do that, and that's very appreciated also. And some other officers need to talk to you, and you take him to the room where there is a secondary inspection done. So what is primary, what is secondary, in which cases, how do you decide this person needs a secondary inspection?
Well, primary is what we refer to is where you first get to meet the United States. Our officers will greet you, courtesy, professionalism, respect. There are 3 tenets at CBP. And that's where you'll have your first encounter, where the officer will ask you some basic questions about the intent of your trip. And you will also provide your biometrics to the officer there. And then there's a whole host of reasons why someone could be referred to secondary. It could be as little as what we call document deficiency. They may not have the right documents. It could be that in the past they have violated one of the whole host of laws that CBP enforces. It also could be that they have a criminal history.
Right, okay.
There's many different reasons. Let me point out, though, a very small percentage of the traveling public actually get referred to secondary. We process over 1 million passengers a year. We average in CBP about a refusal rate of 600 passengers a day. So that's 1/10 of 1%, which we refuse. So when they're referred to secondary, it could be a whole host of reasons.
What happens in the secondary inspection?
Secondary is where we gauge and have more time to just talk to you about why you're coming to the United States, or to find a remedy if there is a document deficiency, somehow how we can alleviate that deficiency and help you get into the United States. It is also where that extensive questioning takes place if, unfortunately, we have to refuse your entry into the United States. That's where it would take place.
And in some cases, I believe that CBP official can even do the search of the baggage or items that a person may be carrying with him.
You are correct. As coming into the United States, a sovereign country, you are subject to search of your person and search of your luggage and personal effects you are traveling with you into the United States. That's where that search would take place. The officer, once again, would have you retrieve your luggage, and they would just conduct a search to see what you are attempting to bring into the United States.
Okay. Okay, under what circumstances can a traveler be denied admission in the U.S., excluded from entry for 5 years, or permitted to withdraw his application in the alternative?
As I spoke about, there's a whole host of reasons. The traditional refusal for someone, what we call an expedited removal,
Right.
that's where someone is removed for 5 years, is someone who has committed some sort of fraud on their application, or we unfortunately have found that they're working illegally here in the United States. That's where you would be subject to an expedited removal. In the other cases of a withdrawal,
yes.
that is when, if there's another part of our grounds of inadmissibility, what we call in the Immigration Act, where somehow you have violated a term there, and your application is just withdrawn, and you're allowed to go home to the respective embassy in your country and apply for a new visa at that time.
So let me recap this. A passenger comes in, lands at Newark Airport or New York. He walks to the inspection area. He goes and see an officer in the line,
Yes.
present his passport. Generally, 1 or 2 minutes, there's a welcome home or something nice, which is always courteous. I can say that most of the time, they're very courteous officials, and I appreciate for that.
Yeah, we stress that at CBP, that our officers are of the utmost professionalism.
Because I rarely see somebody saying, welcome home and thank you, I hope you had a nice visit or something like that. Boom, stamp and go home.
Yes.
Other cases, some cases, minor, small percentage, you say you need to have a secondary inspection. You don't use the word secondary inspection necessary, but you say that you have to wait for some other officer to see you, some other room. It goes in there, and based upon what they have, obviously, when they check the fingerprints or check the information, they may then see other papers. A determination can be made that, okay, fine, you are okay, go ahead. It may take some time though.
Yes.
And then that happens in the second type of situation. In some cases, there is really a problem. And then you tell a guy, listen, this is the problem, I don't think you're really coming for a visit. Or I don't think your intention is something different. Or maybe there's some other issue that the person may be inadmissible, previous crime, prior deportation, something, whatever.
Yes.
Then you tell the person, listen, you have two choices. You want to withdraw the request for admission, or we'll have to exclude you. Is that, and then again, in some cases you permit a person that withdraw, of course the visa stamp is cancelled.
Yes.
And then he's told you can go back home from airport itself. Or in some cases, you find it's a big fraud or big problem there, you actually exclude him for 5 years. You cannot come back for next 5 years.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yeah, that is correct.
A little more about this.
Yeah, normally when someone has entered the United States and there's something wrong with their documents that we can alleviate here at the port of entry, where you may need to see the Department of State, or as you said earlier, a petition may be out of order. In that case, we would normally withdraw that person. He's allowed to go home. It's almost like he never showed up that day.
Okay.
And he's allowed to go home, go back to the embassy, and get his papers in order. But as you said, conversely, if we do find that someone has committed perjury on their application to the U.S. Department of State, or that they have lied materially to the officer, or that we've also found that they're engaging in authorized employment here in the United States, that is where we will now use the expedited removal, and they'll be removed for 5 years before they can reapply to come back to the United States.
Yeah, obviously when even person goes back voluntarily, the visa is cancelled, and when he goes to the embassy, you really have to convince and explain to the consular officer that it was just because there were insufficient documents or information that CBP could not make a determination and permitted me to withdraw. Maybe easier for him to get a new stamp.
Yes.
As compared to somebody who visa never been cancelled. But that's not your issue. That's a Department of
That's the Department of State. And I'll add that we do give that passenger a copy of the sworn statement, where we will take a sworn statement regarding their admission at that time. They get a copy of that statement. They can bring that to the embassy official.
Yeah, right.
And that way, the embassy official, if they have any questions, they can contact the officer. And they'll also have a record of what occurred on that day. And that helps them in the future process.
Okay. Okay. If a traveler wants to make a complaint about the manner in which he was treated, to whom should such complaint be made?
It should be made to the supervisor on duty. It does occur in very small occurrences where a traveler may have a complaint with the officer. We recommend that immediately you ask to speak to a supervisor.
Okay. They could ask the officer there
They'll
that
ask
I want
the officer.
Yes.
All our supervisors are out in the public area. You will
Okay.
see them out on the floor monitoring the flow of passengers coming in. I myself is what's considered a deputy chief, a second-line officer. So the supervisors report to me.
Okay.
But I, many days, am also out on the floor. This is something that CBP stresses, to let the traveling public know, we're here, we're professional. If you have a problem, speak to us.
Yeah, so of course, our the viewers, if anybody does encounter a problem at that time, you can ask for a supervisory officer and speak to the supervisor and air your grievances about what happened, and I'm sure they will be able to take care of that.
Yes, and at that time, could give you a complaint card if you'd like to further that on.
Right.
It's actually handled by an independent agency that contracts with CBP, so CBP in no way influences that card.
Okay.
We also have, if you think about it and at that time you don't want to lodge a complaint, we have a redress program called DHS TRIP. It's the Traveler Redress Inquiry Program. You can find that at www.dhs.gov.
Okay.
And you can lodge your complaint there, and that actually comes down through the Department of Homeland Security. So again, it's outside of CBP. So if for some reason you feel that complaint won't be taken serious, it really has nothing to do with CBP, and it's handled at a department level.
Okay.
Let me ask you this question again in a way. Person goes to the primary inspection, submits the passport, is looking into the computer or something to see whether there is some information based upon which he may refer him to secondary. Is it based upon the information that in the database or based upon the questions that the officer is asking him? I mean, what is criteria, or how does he decide that this person should go to secondary?
It's a whole host of factors. Although there may be something, and what we normally encounter is someone with a common name. It could be somebody that the U.S. government is looking for with a common name. So when they are inspected, that could pop up. There could be information if you previously violated a CBP law or a U.S. government law. And you're right, it also could be the way that that person answers the questions to the officer. There is also random. It could just be, we have officers throughout this layered enforcement. You could have gotten through the primary area and you're picking up your luggage, and we have officers in that environment also in our baggage area.